Hello everyone, thank you for giving so much love to all the episodes before. I'm back with Darshana. So Darshana is an animal liberation activist. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Akshit, for having me. It's a great pleasure.
Yeah, so before starting everything, my first question to you is if you can just speak about your vegan journey and about your background.
Sure. So I was a dog lover. I love dogs, and I I came back to Pune after quite a few years in the Middle East. So when I came back, I got involved with the dog issue after attending a rally. And I realized that all these NGOs over here in Pune were doing their own thing, but they were not connected with one another. Activists who were fighting for dogs, feeding dogs, rescuing dogs, taking care of the dog issues here were not connected. So I formed an email group called Pune Animal Lovers, or PALS.
Okay.
And I added all the members there, almost 700 within 2-3 months.
Mhm.
And we started exchanging ideas, exchanging information, helping one another rescue dogs in need. And it was great. And then I attended a seminar by IAPO. It was a day-long seminar here in Pune, and I was nominated as the coordinator for the Pune Federation of Animal Protection Organizations. I was coordinator for a year, and as coordinator, I worked with the PMC. I attended meetings, and I organized meetings with the PMC to restart the animal birth control or the sterilization program for the dogs.
Okay.
And I also got around 230 dogs in my area at that time, Viman Nagar, sterilized within a year or, yeah. So it really made a huge difference because the number of dogs reduced, the number of cases where there was conflict between humans and dogs came down drastically. And it's always best to address the root issue, the root of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, I watched a video called Earthlings. A friend recommended that I should watch Earthlings. And I watched it, and I was shocked because I was a hardcore non-vegetarian, and I didn't think that I was involved in so much cruelty. I was the reason for so much suffering.
Yeah.
So almost overnight, you can say I went vegan. I refused to eat animal products. And then I realized that there must be thousands like me who were not aware and were, part of that violence and the cause of that suffering. So I became an activist, and I've been an animal liberation activist since 2012. So 8 years of activism.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Again, if you can just speak about how do you feel after being vegan?
Okay. The first thing I noticed was I started feeling light. And I was pretty surprised because that is not something I had expected at all.
Mm-hmm.
As a hardcore non-vegetarian, I thought we needed non-vegetarian food, and we needed animal products to be healthy and for our protein and all that. And it's surprising because I just started feeling so light. But at the same time, I felt very tired and exhausted. And that is because I didn't know what vegan food to eat, because I'd been out of India, I'd been abroad for more than 20 years. So I was so not used to eating roti, sabji, dal, chawal. And I started eating shave, chiuda, biscuits, and biscuits contain milk solids. I was not aware of, reading labels. Like, I didn't read the ingredients. Yeah. So I was eating all the junk, and I ended up feeling tired and exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And then I attended a seminar by Dr. Nandita Shah, where she explained whole food plant-based nutrition. By then I had already done my research, but I wasn't implementing it. And I attended the seminar. One day they gave us whole food plant-based food, and I was so energized and I was so surprised. I said, where did all this energy come from?
Yeah.
So after that, I switched to a whole food plant-based diet, and there's been no looking back. So I am very energized. I sleep better. I am more alert. Overall, I just feel better. I have more stamina. I don't get tired at all. I can sleep for just 5 hours and I'm still fresh. So it's been a huge change, and the myth of needing animal products as protein or calcium is all it's all gone. Because when you experience it yourself, I think
Yeah.
that's the best. Yeah, you don't need anybody to tell you that you need animal protein
Okay, wonderful.
because you experience the best part. Yeah,
Yeah, you do.
right.
So how do you how did you get into sterilizing dogs? Like how did you raise funds for sterilizing them?
Yeah. So basically, it is the responsibility of the civic authorities, the PMC. It is not something that we should be doing as individual citizens.
Okay.
So I went and met the officers who were responsible for the animal birth control, and they had stopped this. So I went and met them. I explained it to them, and I restarted it. I used to go with another activist, another dog lover, Dr. Sushma Date,
Okay.
and fortunately for us, the officer had been changed. So because the officer had been changed, she listened to us, and she was in charge of family planning for humans.
Okay.
And she realized the connection between, animal birth control and human population control.
Yeah.
So she got it instantly, and she supported us. Then they set out a tender, they outsourced it, and we worked with those NGOs. Of course, there were teething problems initially. Starting off was not easy, but we also gave them some slack, because we understood they also had their limitations initially to start off. But once that started, it went very smoothly. And like I said, it's, we really need to address the root of the issue.
Yeah.
So just rescuing dogs and feeding them is not enough. We really need to control the population so that they live a healthier and better life. As it is, they don't get all the need and care that they really need on the streets. So
Yeah.
if there are even more dogs, then it becomes more difficult. Yeah. So when there is a limited number of sterilized dogs, they're happier, they get enough food, everybody can take care of them more better. I
Yeah.
mean, they can take care of them better, and there are fewer rescue cases necessary. But we really need to raise more awareness. There's a lot of hatred for dogs as well in society, which needs to be taken care of.
Okay. So isn't it painful for sterilizing animals?
Sorry, isn't it?
Isn't it painful for sterilizing animals?
For the dogs? Of course it is. But then that pain is temporary.
Yeah.
It's not a continuous suffering that
Yeah.
we would, compel them to go through, unless there is somebody who has so much that they can take care of the dog, the puppies that are born, and dogs reproduce every 6 months.
Yeah.
So imagine if you just allow them to reproduce again and again. It's like the human population. Maybe 50 years ago, 100 years ago, they didn't use contraception, and people had 9 children, 10 children, 12 children, and it wasn't easy, was it?
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So, okay, if you can just speak about your activism and what you do.
Okay. So I basically leaflet a lot. So I don't leave the house without leaflets, and I don't give up any opportunity I get to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I explain, whenever I get the opportunity, I talk to them for 5 or 10 minutes and give them a leaflet. I take down their number. We add them to our WhatsApp group. So that is something I do constantly, non-stop, wherever I go.
Mm-hmm.
I also take part in weekly activities. So every Saturday, Sunday, as a group, we do activism. We meet up and we've already decided what we want to do. And I also participate in the Vegan India movement events. So the Vegan India movement has got all cities together, and we do one event which is common. Like the last event we did together was painting a wall with a vegan message or an animal liberation message.
Okay.
So all the cities participate in this. It's a kind of a way of showing our strength and unity, and also getting the message across. I've also I've organized vegan fests, 3 vegan fests in Phoenix Market City, one of the best malls in Pune.
Yeah.
And I also organized rather, vegan master chef challenges or vegan super chef challenges in institutes of hotel management. I give talks in schools, colleges, wherever I get the opportunity. So I organize protests, marches, organize events for us. So I do all this too. I mean, there's no limit to it.
Okay.
I do, yeah, I also have a YouTube channel called Plant Powered Darshana, where you can see a lot of my activities and
Okay.
interactions with people.
Wonderful. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like how as an activist, have you helped people go vegan or give advices?
Well, all my activism is about helping people go vegan and also take up activism. So basically, when you give them information
Uh-huh.
about what happens to animals, they understand it is not something they would want to do.
Yeah.
And it's a very non-confrontational way that I do this. I do not blame them. I don't hold them accountable for what they're doing right now, because it's basically societal conditioning that has actually got us into this.
Yeah.
We are, fed animal products even before we understand what it's all about. And if we were given the opportunity to choose whether we would want to hurt an animal and consume their flesh or their secretions, most people wouldn't choose
Yeah.
to do that. As as children, once you understand, come to an age where you can understand what animals are. And like, I simply give an example, like if you were a kid and I got a chicken, which is actually just a baby chicken, just 40-day-old chicken, like these broilers are when they are killed. So if I got a chicken and you were a kid and I told you that I was going to kill that chicken and give you the flesh to eat, what would you do? So most
Yeah.
people instinctively say they wouldn't allow the person to kill the chicken. And that's what it is basically. So people get it. Or when about dairy, I ask them, when any mammal produces milk, and that's when they have babies. So why has nature put milk in the body? It's for the baby. It's nutrition. It's liquid nutrition for a newborn baby to grow fast in a short period of time. So when I ask them if they would steal the food of a baby, they say no, they wouldn't. So it's basically all societal conditioning, and we are, the violence has been normalized for us, so normalized that we don't even question it. So when I raise awareness like that, they get it, and people are ready to leave animal products, just like I was. And I hold talks in institutes of hotel in colleges and schools. uh, I do a lot of awareness wherever I go. A lot of my neighbors have gone vegan because I don't wait for an event to do, to raise awareness. When I'm walking out with my dog, when I'm shopping, if I see anything, I get an opportunity, I talk about it. So a lot of my neighbors have gone vegan. There are families, whole families that have gone vegan.
Okay.
And I always also carry leaflets with me wherever I go. So if they don't have the time to talk, I just give them the leaflet. Anyways, I give them the.
Wonderful.
So that's how
Yeah.
yeah.
So how hard it is, like if you have, I'm sure you helped a lot of people in those years of your journey of being vegan and activist. So how hard it is to make people believe that veganism is important in our life?
So when I first became vegan, I was traumatized. I was so traumatized that I couldn't believe I had been part of that violent system, and that I was the cause or the reason for for so much suffering, of other animals, because that's not the kind of person I am. I love dogs, and I would say I was always an animal lover, but because of societal conditioning, we are so disconnected from, our hearts and minds.
Yeah.
So the difficult part was when I first went vegan, I did not know how to communicate. And I used to end up fighting with people. I used to end up uh, arguing with them because I didn't know how to put it across. And I thought if I got it, I thought, oh, it would be like everybody would get it. I just needed to tell them.
Yeah.
But that is not what happens. And people start questioning, which was absolutely shocking for me when the first time I heard, but plants have feelings. I was like, are you serious? I had absolutely no response to that because I was so unprepared. I did not expect somebody to defend plants just because I said animals should not be killed. And this is a kind of a defense mechanism. I think people become defensive when we question them or question their habits and their, taste buds. Basically, it's something they desire.
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to communicate, it becomes very difficult and it ends up into an argument where each one tries to prove his point.
Yeah.
But after a few years, I watched a few videos and I learned how to communicate. So now it's not difficult at all. And people get it very fast within 5-10 minutes, and they get it. Of course, they may not switch immediately,
Yeah.
but they get it. Yeah. So it's not very difficult if you know how. So communication is something that we really need to, train activists with.
So how? What do you have thoughts? So you said you love dogs. So do you believe in the people who sell dogs or adopting dogs from the streets?
So as an animal liberation activist, we believe in the rights of animals. They should have a right to live the way they want without human interference.
Uh-huh.
And putting a price on an animal is just like putting a price on another human being. So, during slavery, humans were sold. They were, a price was put on their heads. They were sold in auctions. This is unacceptable today, right? So
Yeah.
as an animal liberation activist, I am totally against putting a price on any animal, be it a dog or a chicken or a fish or a goat or an egg or milk or cow or buffalo, any animal. I am against zoos. I do not believe that animals should be made to
Yeah.
work in circuses,
Yeah.
to do unnatural things that are so not what they should be doing. They should live a life that nature intended for them,
Yeah.
without human interference.
Yeah.
So no. All my animals, I have 1 dog and 2 cats right now, they are all rescued. And if I had the ability, I would set them free. But at the moment, I have no other option but to keep them in the house with me. But they're happier than where they would have been because they are rescued from terrible situations.
Okay. Yeah, wonderful. So, last question I have is if you would like to give a message to the audience or speak about anything you wish to.
Yeah, so basically what I'd like to tell people is, we are born in a system where we are indoctrinated into a violent system. We do not choose to do things.
Yeah.
And we become aware, and I think it's our moral obligation to see whether we want to be part of these violent systems. It's a moral obligation to think about these animals as living beings, as individual beings, sentient beings.
Yeah.
And it's not very difficult to step out of this system. And we just need to realize it's a social justice movement, just like any other movements, like how India got freedom from the British, or the slavery, the civil rights movement for the Black people, or even, abolishing sati or women's rights. Oh, this is animal rights, children's rights. I mean, they're all the same. It's fighting against an injustice. The only difference being here, animals, like children, can't fight for themselves. So we as adult humans have to intervene on their behalf. And I think it's time that we all questioned all these things and not follow the herd. It's a dominant ideology.
Okay.
And people do this all over the world. So we can really step out and say, we don't want to be part of this violence.
Yeah.
Let's replace violent systems with non-violent systems, and equality and wealth equity for everyone.
Okay, so yeah, thank you very much. Had a wonderful session filled with a lot of useful information. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Lakshit, for doing this, and wishing you all the best with more of your podcasts.
Thank you.
Thank you.